One trend that I'm hearing is coming back as well is like being really, really skinny.
I know.
What's up with that
I
one?
see that coming back too. And it's such a bummer because I feel like we had come so far from that era. I think I'd be a lot wealthier if I posted transformation photos. I think that I'd make a lot more money showing how skinny people can get through our programming, but that's not a part of my work. Around that 2015, 2016 time, I get a message from George Foreman.
Famous boxer, perhaps most known for the grill.
So he's opening a gym in Boston and he sees all of these classes that I'm teaching around the city and he wants me to bring Kick It to his gym. I stalked all the producers that I could find and I got silence on the other end from so many people until the one person was like, hey, send me your media kit. And I was like, I'm on it. I was on the next flight out there as soon as I could to get to LA and film with them.
I mean, this is a big deal. This video today has 7.5 million views on YouTube.
And signing with them was this confidence boost of, holy shit, I think I can really turn this into something special.
Hey everyone, I've got some very exciting news to share. We have just made our first serious addition to the Seacoast Stories team. Our new director of partnerships is Lucy Donnelly. She'll be working alongside me on some initiatives we are cooking up, including Seacoast Stories memberships, sponsorships, merchandise, and a Seacoast discount program that I am personally very excited to bring to all of you. I tell you this because so many of you have supported Seacoast Stories since day one, and this move is a big step in the direction of taking this business where I have always wanted it to go. To stay up to date with everything happening in the Seacoast Stories universe, I do suggest you subscribe to our newsletter, which you can find on the brand new seacoaststories.com. Welcome to Seacoast Stories, a weekly podcast about the people and businesses of New Hampshire and Maine. I'm Troy Farkas. That voice you just heard is that of Eliza Shirazi. She is one of the most well-known fitness instructors in all of New England. Voted last year as the best virtual workout by Boston Businesswoman, the 36-year-old has 18 years of instructor experience under her belt. She has 25,000 followers on Instagram, and she's not only been a New Balance athlete, but she's also appeared on some pretty notable platforms like NBC Boston, NBC Connecticut, a little program called The Today Show, and also on a POPSUGAR YouTube video with nearly 8 million views. Shirazi's business is called Kick It By Eliza. At the heart of it is her Kick It style class, which is a high-intensity interval training style featuring kickboxing-inspired combos, bodyweight exercises, and of course, lots of loud music. Shirazi grew up a dancer in Leominster, Massachusetts, and at UMass Amherst, after failing to make the dance team, she took a step aerobics class in 2009 that changed her life. It filled the void left by competitive dance, and she quickly latched on to the loud music, good workouts, better vibes, and after-class chats that attract so many busy adults, especially women. After that first class, she decided to pursue instructing, and she very quickly gained a large following on the UMass campus. Then she moved to Boston to start a corporate healthcare gig, but on the side, she immersed herself in the growing field of group fitness, which at the time was really gaining steam in American cities thanks to franchises like Pure Barre, SoulCycle, and Core Power. We'll pick up with that part of the story in a moment, but let me pause to tell you that this is not a Boston story. Eliza lives in Portsmouth now with her boyfriend Ryan. They moved here 5 years ago, and she completely transformed her in-person business when the pandemic forced her to. Kick It By Eliza is now mainly a virtual membership program, where she and her certified team of instructors stream a bunch of classes a week, from Eliza's signature Kick It style classes to Pilates to classes with weights and more. But they still do retain the in-person element, hosting popular pop-ups at Boston Seaport, the Omni Hotel, among other locations. Our presenting sponsor this month is Degree Wellness Seacoast. More on them later, but we are so excited to have them aboard. And we begin today's story right after Eliza has graduated from UMass, landed herself a big girl job, and started hustling on the side.
I graduate and I'm working at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. So I'm really leaning into the public health side of things. And if it wasn't for the many people who went from UMass to Boston and said, where are you going to teach? I don't know that I would have continued teaching. It was their encouragement that had me teaching before my job at the Brigham, after my job at the Brigham, weekends, really teaching anywhere that would have me. And I even taught Kick It at the Brigham through like some programming. So it was fun to dabble in this new world. And I knew moving from UMass to Boston, I was just like a little fish in a really big pond. And I was scared. I did not move to Boston thinking I'm all that. I was like, all right, I got to figure out how this world really works. The one side note that is interesting is that when I was in school, I studied abroad in Cape Town and I taught at the University of Cape Town. And that was actually my first experience of teaching outside of UMass. So it was that moment of like courage and confidence again that I used when I moved to Boston, thinking like, okay, if I could do this like across the world, I can like figure it out here in Boston where I have my community and like my family's here, my friends are here. So I was teaching anytime I could outside of my work.
And you're doing this just as a side gig, just to make a little money on the side, just for funsies, not with your eye on actually making this a career.
Yeah. I mean, part of it was for sure, I'm doing this for funsies. It brought me so much joy. My job at the Brigham did not pay a ton. So I did have to figure out ways to make income for myself outside of that, which was actually a good push to kind of get booked and busy teaching to supplement, alongside my job at the Brigham. I had a lot of people in my ear at the time, a lot of people telling me what I should do. I should open a studio. I should do this. I should do that. I remember feeling so overwhelmed when I graduated because I didn't want to open a studio. That wasn't really my dream at the time. And I'm by nature a people pleaser. So like I would go as far as exploring these options and like submitting letters of intent on spaces because other people really wanted that for me. And it's not necessarily other people's fault. I was someone young, impressionable, and I didn't have a voice. I was figuring it out. So I remember that being really challenging for me of figuring out what I really wanted to do and not being so caught up in what everyone else wanted me to do. And that was a pivotal time because it forced me to sort of figure it out for that era.
So this is what, 2013-ish time?
Yeah.
What is the Boston fitness scene like at this time?
Oh, it is booming. It is like reaching the height of boutique fitness. So I'm talking like the Soul Cycles of it all, the Pure Barre of it all. Bar Method, I think, was big already back then. Just think niche boutique fitness popping off, and also like more locally owned versions of those things. It was so fun because it was like, wow, people are doing this for themselves. It was very inspiring to me to see that. And it was also the age of social media ramping up. So I remember my senior year of college when I was graduating, it was like one of my first Instagram posts. So that was 2013. And the reason why boutique fitness started to take off, one of the reasons is because of social media. Everyone wanted to be somewhere where you could take a cool filtered photo and post it online. So once again, it was like kind of perfect storm happening in Boston.
Yeah. Those are the days.
I know. I really miss those.
Post that one photo with a stupid filter.
Yeah.
Simpler times.
For sure. For my birthday this year, I posted one photo. I was like, I'm showing my age because I'm going to post one photo and expect everybody to like it and see it.
Did it go viral?
No.
Darn it. Well, I'm hoping it can just get back to being that easy.
I know.
Yeah.
One day.
All right. So you're in it in the Boston fitness scene. At what point does it really start to turn where it's like, oh, I think I actually want to pursue this seriously? Here's
the turn. It was about 2015, 2016-ish. So I've been in Boston for a few years. I'm teaching at this point, I'm teaching at Equinox. I'm teaching at more luxury established gyms. I'm getting a little bit more street cred, if you will. I'm also...
Your same Kick It style class.
Same Kick It style class. I'm also so grateful that there was an editor at Boston Magazine who was constantly covering my classes. I think it was good content for her, for sure, because I was popping up outside of these studios, which was not super unusual, but kind of unusual. I was just kind of like this little curly haired thing, bopping around, doing these interesting events, partnering with like Sweet Green and different companies. And that really helped me gain credibility and traction. And I'm so grateful for those times because she really didn't have to do any of that. So around that 2015, 2016 time, I get a message from George Foreman, which, if you're listening, George Foreman's son, one of the many sons, is opening or opened a boxing gym in Boston.
George Foreman, famous boxer, perhaps most known for
the grill. Yeah, which I had. Yes. So he's opening a gym in Boston and he sees all of these classes that I'm teaching around the city, and he wants me to bring Kick It to his gym. At the time, it was called The Club by George Foreman III. So my initial reaction was, George Foreman, like the grill? Really? That I was like, I had one of those in college. How funny, how cool. And then talking to my sister, I remember having a conversation with her. She was like, his dad is like a legendary boxer. And I was like, oh, okay. That's how naive I was to the sport, right?
Yeah.
I like kind of over my head. So I was intimidated.
Right, your boxing is like fitness boxing, not fighting boxing.
Not fighting. I'm not sparring. Yeah. I'm not in a ring. I'm just pulling movement patterns from that world.
Right.
So I was really intimidated and I thought, interesting opportunity, but I kind of feel like a fraud. So I was hesitant, but I said, we met and I said, I'll be happy to teach this at your gym, but I really want to be trained in boxing because I really do have imposter syndrome coming in here. And at the time, I wasn't sure what the clientele was like. So I'm thinking like, are these guys going to come take my Kick It class? Like that doesn't feel like it's a fit, but again, let me just train and feel more confident and we'll see what happens. So he personally trained me, which was an incredible masterclass in boxing. And
George Foreman the third.
The third,
okay.
Yeah, which he had a fighting career on his own.
Okay.
And it was, again, a masterclass in learning boxing. And I felt so grateful that he was taking the time to work with me in that capacity. And it made me more confident in what I was doing. I felt like I finally had some ground to stand on. And I wasn't just kind of like doing jumping jacks and jabs randomly. I could sequence my classes a lot better. And it was a smarter program after that. So teaching at the club, it's now known as Everybody Fights, was a win for George and his business. And it was a win for me and my non-existent business, but my community. He really saw that I could bring in a clientele that they were looking to get in the door, which it was female millennials. And female millennials may not have stepped into the door with just boxing programming that they had. He knew if he could bring in instructors like myself, and there were a few people who taught like their own things. It wasn't just me, but we would draw a crowd. And once the crowd tried the classes, they would fall in love with the community in the gym, which is exactly what happened because it was an amazing community and the programming was awesome. And I always tip my hat off to George saying he's such a good businessman because that's what he is first in my eyes, is he's a really good businessman. So I learned a lot from him. And there were a lot of people from the New Balance world that were taking my classes because they're located in Brighton, Boston. And I got very buddy-buddy with a lot of employees there, taking my classes, going to their events. They had an event called Girls Night Out, which they'd bring in like these star instructors. And I was always like starstruck, even though I didn't know them. I was like, how cool, they're putting this instructor on a stage and there's a DJ and there's lights and there's hundreds of people. And they started a program where they signed a few instructors across the country as athletes. And I was one of those athletes. In a non-traditional sense. I always have like disclaimers around this because I don't think I'm comparing myself to these star-studded athletes out there that sign with New Balance, but it was a version of that. And signing with them was this confidence boost of, holy shit, I think I can take this full time. I think I can really turn this into something special. Around the same time, my grant-funded position at the Brigham was wrapping up. So I had the choice to either go all in on Kick It or scramble and find another job, which I was honestly prepared to do because I'm risk adverse. And I was like, I should just stay within the Brigham network institution. Like, it's very reputable, stability. That's what I was thinking. But I think, again, encouragement from friends and family, it was like, you don't have any responsibility. You know, you have nothing holding you back. Like, try it. See what happens if you go full time. So that's what I did. And it was extremely scary. And there are so many things that we'll get into that happened after that. But 2015, 2016, very pivotal years for my business. That was just like kind of blooming and blossoming.
Wow.
Yeah. Take that in.
I have so many questions. All right. I'll go down the line.
Okay.
So you keep referencing this community that you were building.
Yeah.
What kinds of people are you attracting to your classes? And you said that you're kind of bouncing around between Equinox, between the club. Is it the same people that you're seeing, that they're following you to these different studios?
Sort of. Yes. I think I had I think the Equinox people were the Equinox people. And I think the club people, those were the ones that followed me around. They were more likely to come to my pop-up classes, my outdoor classes. At that time, I was also teaching for Seaport Sweat, which I still teach for today. It's been 10 seasons. The Seaport now is so different from what it looked like 10 years ago. I was literally teaching on dirt, and now it looks like a mini New York City. It's kind of incredible. So that series also gave people, it's a free fitness series, gave people no barrier to entry, come take class outside. And all of these moments led to that community that was being built. All sorts of different people too. It was female millennials. It was people outside of that age bracket. It was just like college, where maybe some of these people would never have met outside of class, but Kick It was this common denominator for folks.
And they're just looking for a sweat to a nice community feel to it.
Yeah. So the community, I was locked in on who I was serving for sure.
Brilliant. You're a brilliant businesswoman. All right. New Balance.
Yeah.
How does this come about?
Yeah. I actually don't remember the start to our conversations. I do remember going into the New Balance headquarters and having like the first meetings. It must have been like after class or something, someone expressing interest. And now that I'm rolling back in my mind here, it was someone who took a class, who expressed interest. And I think it got to someone above her. And then the conversation started, and I went to the headquarters and I was having meetings. And I really want to give a shout out to Peter Serenko. He was a big dog at New Balance, and he got introduced to me through these conversations. I didn't know him directly. And he just took such a shine to me and what I was doing. He's still someone I consider a mentor and a friend. Another person who he didn't have to spend any time with me. He didn't have to invest thoughts and time and energy, and he did. And it was with Peter Serenko that I came out with my first New Balance apparel collection for my community. And that was just such a thrill. So people were advocating for me. That's really what it was.
Yeah. Why do you think these people like Tracy from college, like George Foreman, like Peter, what do you think that they saw in you that they were willing to take you under their wing and help nurture you?
I think I had a sense of enthusiasm that was very genuine. And at the time that I met people like George or Peter Serenko, they could see the community that I was building. So again, from a business perspective, they were betting on my engaged community. And I know that I don't mean to make that sounds shallow, like they were only interested because of my community. From a business standpoint, like, yeah, they saw what I was doing. And I think upon meeting them, they likely saw my enthusiasm for the work that I was doing.
Amazing. So what exactly did this deal with New Balance include?
The deal was exclusivity. So it was fine by me. I had to wear New Balance as I was signed with them. They gave me a good chunk of money. But again, it was almost like the Brigham, where I had this fine chunk of money, but I had to work. Like I wasn't just relying on that. I had to be teaching and thinking about like future opportunities. It was, again, fine by me. I was in their magazines. I was doing girls' night out events, which was so full circle, finally being a part of that. And I was also creating apparel for my community with Peter Serenko. He was the head of apparel. Like this guy was a big dog.
Wow.
And I remember I'd go into their showroom and we would pick out designs. It was so special. And I think back on it, and while the terms that I agreed to, would I agree to them today? Probably not, because I'm in a different place. But at the time, it was outstanding. It was an exceptional partnership for me.
Yeah.
And I miss those days of going into the showroom with Peter and like looking at the clothes. And I never took it for granted, which I'm proud of myself for. Because sometimes you go through those moments and you just think it's kind of like, this is what I do, run of show. No, I really soaked in every moment, and it was a really special time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you grew up Leominster, so not that far from Boston, went to UMass.
Yeah.
And then to have this massive international brand that's based in Boston, to be affiliated with them in that way must have been surreal for you.
It was so unbelievable. And I also got to know through this experience, Kasha Davis, which she's the daughter of the family that started New Balance. And that was like a front row seat of seeing someone not so far from my age doing unbelievable work in the space that she was in. And I still am just so inspired by her. And she was another person who didn't need to give me the time of day, but was always so kind and so gracious. And it was really cool to see a young woman having such an impact in this big organization and making a name for herself. It was really cool.
So you do decide to take the leap. Take me back into the earliest iterations of what is now the globally renowned Kick It By Eliza franchise. When you did go in full time, what did it look like? What were you doing?
I was just doing a lot more of what I was already doing. So I was teaching a lot more. I ramped up my teaching schedule. I also started certifying people to teach Kick It, which was a turning point. And I remember having a conversation with someone who was a mentor to me at the time. And he said, you might want to change your name from Kick It with Eliza to Kick It By Eliza, because it's not always going to be with you now. And just that one slight change in the name, one word, it really did shift how I thought about the business. And it also made sense for the people I was certifying. So my first certification in 2016 was back at UMass Amherst with like 10 students. One of them from that first cohort is still an instructor today,
wow,
which is so cool. And they were my guinea pigs. And it was a test of, can I make this work bigger than myself? Because then I have a business. So that was the first iteration of it. I also, at the time, was doing a pop-up studio concept in Alston. They had this mixed use space, and it was affiliated with Harvard, and they asked me to activate the space with my classes. And I was like, all right, let's try it. Let's see, like, can I get people to come? I have to get a booking system. I have to get like mind body. I have to get insurance, like all of these things that I never really worried about before. That pop-up inspired me to do my next one in the Seaport at a luxury apartment building. I was, like I mentioned, teaching the Seaport Sweat series just during the summer. And I thought, what a waste to be cultivating this community outside in the summer and not bring it indoors somewhere right nearby. So I pitched to this luxury apartment building, listen, I can bring you people, I can bring you marketing, I can bring you all of these wonderful things. We did amazing work in that space. I look back at it and I was like, wow, I really overextended myself, but I was so excited to have a space to work out of. So it was a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what stuck, taking chances. So much of my journey has been trial and error, which is fun. And it's also scary. You know, it wasn't that path of I'm going to open a studio, which is hard in itself. It was more so I'm going to try these different concepts.
Right. Now, this New Balance deal, which had, probably been the foundation for you financially as you're navigating this time, that does eventually not get renewed.
Yes, that's
what happened there?
Well, so I think it was a yearly contract that we signed, I want to say 2 years, maybe 3. It's funny how things get fuzzy. Like, at the time, I could tell you like exactly how many days I was with them. Now I'm like, I think it was 2 or 3. But I remember going to my dad and my brother's warehouse. That's where I would like not run Kick It out of, but do admin work out of. And I was at my brother's desk with him, and we had a call with New Balance. They were going to let us know if I was re-signed for a year. And I remember feeling so out of body weird because I put so much emphasis on that moment and on that relationship. And I remember them saying, budgetary things, we're not able to support it this year. I remember Peter Serenko was on the call and he felt awful about delivering this news. And I just remember feeling so, I was crawling out of my skin because I was with my brother and I was thinking like, what does he think about this? What do I think about this? Am I crumbling? What does this mean for the future? And I think it was a good thing that happened because it pushed me to think about what's next. I could have become very comfortable and complacent staying with that deal, but I was kind of like kicked out of the bird's nest, if you will. And it's like, all right, figure out what you're going to do next.
Right. Now, I did hear you say on a different podcast that you had asked New Balance for more money, I think, in like the next round of the deal or something.
Yes. Oh, you do your research, Troy. Yes.
It's not a rinky-dink operation
over here. It's not. No, I don't doubt you. Yes. I think that that call was them evaluating my proposal or negotiating because there in my head at the time, there was room for negotiating. Like I felt that I brought so much to the table. I never again took for granted what they brought to the table, but I just thought like, let me negotiate. Like this is business, right? Like, let's see if I can get a little bit more to match what I think this is all worth. And yeah, that's when they came back and said budget wise, I think they dissolved that whole program, to be honest, where they signed instructors, or at least I haven't seen anything as of late with them doing that. But yeah, I was shut down for sure. So that was humbling.
Right. Well, I think this is an important moment to pause on because, as you said, you're a people pleaser. I wouldn't say I'm a people pleaser, but I would say I'm more of like, I've always been attracted to the idea of the starving artist. Van Gogh is my favorite artist, and he wasn't, he was starving his whole life. He wasn't recognized until after his death. And I think artists, they'll always undervalue themselves. The creatives will always undervalue themselves. And so the fact that you asked for a little more rather than just re-signing what was already there, despite you proving all that you had done for them and probably bringing them a lot of value, where you very much were in your right to ask for more, but rather than just like kind of people pleasing and just like letting it go. I think that's a pretty important moment for you in your growth and something other people can probably relate to. Yeah,
for sure. And I have no doubt that at the time, my brother was also helping me think about this and kind of being like an older version of eyes for me, which I am so grateful for because it's those moments where you get rejected. Same thing with like not making the dance team. It's these moments of rejection that you learn so much. I feel like the wins are so fun and can feel very far and few between once you're like really in the trenches. But the losses and the rejection, that changes you. Like you learn a lot from those. So I remember being really bummed, but it's a part of the journey.
All right. So the New Balance deal finishes up. You're doing your thing in the city, teaching at a bunch of different studios. You've got a growing stable of instructors. And then it's really around this time as well that you start putting a camera in front of you and you actually landed a really big opportunity, right?
Yeah. In the 2018-2019 timeframe, I'm doing classes for NeoU, which they do on-demand classes based in Manhattan. I would be taking the train back and forth, filming content for them. And then I also got asked by POPSUGAR to come out and film a video, which I grew up really looking at POPSUGAR, taking classes, idolizing those instructors. They had a huge presence. And I was on the next flight out there as soon as I could to get to LA and film with them. So I was starting to get on camera experience, which became extremely important for what was to come in 2020.
How did POPSUGAR find you?
I think they found me through NeoU.
Okay.
I got a DM on Instagram. That's how the producer reached out to me. But I think it was because I was showing my work with NeoU, there was a connection there. And it felt like all of the moments of building Kick It and working on my community led to this moment of POPSUGAR reaching out, because it was such like the pinnacle for me to be categorized with the kinds of instructors they were having on their platform.
Right. Yeah. And this is a big deal. This video today, I watched it earlier today, has 7.5 million views on YouTube, which is insane. Yeah. Were you nervous filming that, knowing how much this could change things for you, perhaps? I
was so nervous. And Emily, who is in the video with me, so it's the host, Anna, and then Emily is my really good friend from college. She's one of the so I guess you could say 2 people are still, certified and part of the instructor community from my UMass days when I did that first cohort. Emily lived in LA and I slept on her couch and I was like, you're coming with me to be in this video. We didn't prep. Like, I had an idea of what I was going to do. The class is really short. I had an idea of what I was going to do, but I didn't prepare for this like it was going to reach the masses necessarily. I was just there to teach a short, quick, and dirty class. I wasn't really sure who would see it, but I think the production of it all, that's what made me nervous. It wasn't necessarily so many people are going to see this. It was like the production and being with all these like elite people.
Right.
Looking back on it, I was like, I do think now, I probably would have prepared a little bit more. The class is great. I mean, we did great, but I just laugh because I remember Emily being like, wow, really had to follow along the whole time. Didn't know what the heck you were about to do. And it was for such a big stage. It was for such a big audience. But again, I was just like in awe to be on the set because I had watched it for so many years. Yeah.
And I mean, even though you didn't perhaps specifically prepare for that class, you had done so many iterations before of what, so you had years of preparation for that moment.
Yeah. I wasn't just like, going totally off the cuff. I had an idea, but I always feel bad for Emily because I'm like, she had to really pay attention to what I was about to do.
When that video got published and the views started rolling in and the comments started rolling in, what was the conversation in your head like at that time?
I was so excited. I didn't realize that it was going to pop off like it did, which, you'd think I took so many POPSUGAR videos, I'd have an idea that it was reaching the masses. It was just really fun to see it so celebrated. I didn't expect it to be so celebrated by people. I thought it was a cool accomplishment for me. I didn't really think that everyone else would be as excited, but it meant something and people really rallied behind it. So it was cool.
Right. And it's that very experience that prepared you for what was to come.
Yeah, dun dun dun.
In the pandemic, which threatens basically everything you had built up until that point.
For sure. And just a few months before, I had hired a business coach and invested a lot of money in this business coach to help me think about the sustainability factor, which we talked about. I was starting to take that very seriously. I was actually in LA March of 2020 with this business coach. Part of the whole thing was doing a retreat style thing together with other clients she was working with. We had to fly home or try to get flights home. I remember the plane being like pretty much empty. It was so scary. Everything was shutting down. So I was in a weird headspace of, is everything I worked for just down the tubes? What am I going to do? I don't have a backup plan. I flew back to Boston, living with Ryan at the time, and we were living in South Boston together. And he was like, let's get out of the city. Let's go to Kittery, Maine, where my parents are, and just like get away for a little bit. They were in Florida at the time. So we had the house to ourselves and we're like, all right, we're going to just kind of use it as our escape. And it was a mad dash to figure out what the heck to do.
Coming up, the hard pivot that launches Eliza's business into the next stratosphere and how a cold DM lands her the opportunity of a lifetime. That's in a moment. But first, I'm a health and wellness nut, and I love preventative health. Thankfully, people are now realizing that recovery isn't something you do after you burn out, but something you need to build into your routine. Whether you're chasing kids around all day, working 60-hour weeks, training for a race, or you just want to feel better when you wake up in the morning, Degree Wellness is bringing something special to the Seacoast for people like you. They're opening next month in Northampton, and they're creating a beautiful spa-inspired recovery studio that makes investing in your health actually feel enjoyable. They're offering, get this, full body cryotherapy, red light therapy, infrared saunas, cold plunges, of course, compression massage, oxygen therapy, LED light facials, even vitamin C showers and aromatherapy, and your own private studio so you can really unplug for a little while. You just show up as yourself and they'll provide the robes, the towels, slippers, water. They've thought of everything. You just walk in, take a deep breath, and slow down. And right now, they're offering a founding member special where you'll get invited to an exclusive VIP week to experience the studio before anyone else. You can even bring unlimited guests. For more information, check out our sponsors section in the show notes. So as you may have noticed, we are officially in the thick of summer here on the Seacoast. The patios are packed. There's a line outside the Friendly Toast every morning. You can barely find a parking spot in downtown Portsmouth, and everyone is trying to soak up as much sun as they can, which is great until all that sun is pouring directly into your living room. You know the feeling. You're just trying to enjoy a slow Sunday morning before heading to the beach or grabbing lunch at the go, and suddenly your house feels like a greenhouse. Or worse, you realize every person walking by can see you sitting there in your pajamas. That's where Budget Blinds of the Seacoast comes in. They're local, they come right to your home, and they help you find the perfect window treatments for your space. No guesswork, no wandering around a big box store wondering which blinds are actually going to fit. Whether you live in a downtown Portsmouth condo, a Dover colonial, or a coastal cottage up in Maine, they will help you keep the summer light where you want it and the heat and lack of privacy where you don't. Custom blinds, shades, shutters, and drapes professionally installed, reasonably priced, and done right the first time. For more information, just check out our sponsors section in the show notes. All right, so the pandemic hits and you have to change course fast. So what did you decide to do?
Well, thankfully, I did have this business coach. At first, I thought, what a mistake. Like, I just hired somebody, I'm working with somebody, and now everything's going to shit. It was a blessing that I had her in my corner because she was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you online like we were planning on doing, but we're going to just hit the gas. And it started very messy and it was fast. And I remember creating my first little image. It's so ugly looking back on it, but it was like this little image of take a free virtual class with me and getting set up on Zoom. And it was so messy at first, but what do? You know,
but
you fight.
Everything was so messy at that time. Oh my God, what a time.
I know. It's so, also the contrast of this time. So like my family's businesses were going down the drain. It was so scary for them. Meanwhile, my business was ramping up. It was such a weird contrast of like, wow, my business is taking off. Like, oh my gosh, almost everybody else is tanking.
Right.
You know, I wanted to celebrate everything that I was doing, but it felt weird to do that.
Like read the room.
Yeah, it felt really weird.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, there must have been high demand for what because this was the only option. Everyone was pivoting to at-home workouts with whatever equipment that they've got. I remember using like a cast iron pan as a weight of some kind.
Absolutely. People were using like bottles of wine and like beer cans. Yeah. We were using whatever we could and just adapting as fast as we could. And the demand was so high. I was not anticipating it at all. It was a shock to me.
Yeah. So you're just doing your Kick It style classes, streaming them from home.
Yeah. I'm up in Kittery, Maine at this point, streaming them from that kitchen. Yeah. And that POPSUGAR video drove so much traffic. Because people are Googling or on YouTube, like fitness classes, kickboxing workouts, whatever they're looking for, I'm popping up. So that drove a lot of traffic to our virtual platform.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything in person for a considerable amount of time.
That's right. Yeah. I am deep into the virtual world and trying to figure out how to build it as I'm building it.
Right.
Which was really crazy.
Right. Now, I mean, at this point, you had spent a decade plus teaching high energy, high intensity in-person classes, filling rooms. And now to just be looking into a camera without those people. Yeah. Can you just compare and contrast the feelings of what it felt like to teach that way?
I was once again running on this adrenaline And so many people wanted the class that I was so excited to do it for them and teach for them. I think that it's a much different skill set to teach on camera versus in person. So I was, for a lack of better words, I was doing way too much when I was teaching. Like I was teaching in person, and I had to figure out how to make it more readable to the people on the other side of the camera. That was a learning curve. I had experience with NeoU, I had experience with POPSUGAR, but I had to figure out how do I make classes a better experience for the virtual world, because it doesn't necessarily translate the in-person style.
What were some of those adjustments you had to make?
It was finding the balance of making movement big enough and expansive so it reads on camera, but also checking in on people. I'm on Zoom, right? And I want to make it feel like it's a intimate experience where I can see people and give them feedback. So really balancing the demonstration and then also looking at their little squares and giving them feedback and encouragement. And it's just a much different beast, virtual versus in person, balancing those two things.
Right. And in Boston area, you're teaching these classes, you're seeing a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah.
You know their stories.
Yeah.
You've had conversations before, after class. Now you're teaching people who are finding you from this POPSUGAR video.
Totally.
From all around the country, all around the world. You have no idea who they are. They're just coming in to take a virtual class.
Yeah. I thought it was so crazy. We had international folks joining the classes, and it's what I was working towards or thinking about pre-COVID. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. So being in front of them was really cool. The other thing I'll say is with that POPSUGAR video and that definitely reaching the masses, there was so much negativity and criticism on that video during COVID, because like Joe Schmo could take the class and leave their feedback on it. And it was the first time I really read like negative stuff about Kick It. And I remember the producer saying to me, once this video goes live, don't read the comments, because they just knew to run a show. You know, it reaches everybody. People are like these keyboard warriors. They say what they want. You know, the first thing I did when it came out in 2019, I was reading the comments. I was like, let me see what the people are saying. I need to know. COVID was interesting because a lot of teachers were assigning that class for like gym class. So it was a lot of like high school kids being like, who's here because Mrs. A said we had to do this video. This sucks. I was like, wow, I didn't expect, you know, these little teeny boppers to be, you know, taking the class. Yeah. It was a good exercise for me to read that feedback, whether it was the teeny boppers or someone really leaving a nasty comment, you know, this isn't real kickboxing, this isn't real boxing, just like so many different comments, because I read them and I was maybe a little flustered by them. But since I don't know these people, I really wasn't deeply hurt by it. I just thought like, so interesting. It really is so interesting that people don't think that, you know, the person who created this is, and I'm sure you experience this with your work, you know, that there are real people who make these experiences or like create these podcasts or create these classes. And I genuinely thought like, how sad people go that far to leave comments like that. If it was someone I knew, that would shatter me.
Yes.
Same. You know, that's a different ball game. Yeah. But these random people, I was like, I really feel sad that they feel the need to like say such mean things about a workout video. Like how people did have time on their hands, but how odd, you know? So that was an interesting exercise. Yeah.
I will never understand that behavior.
I don't either.
Like especially, you know, in the last year, the comments on Facebook have just ramped up, and people
Isn't Facebook weird?
People on Facebook are so weird. They're so angry. Strange. They say all sorts of shit. Like, I don't understand. I've never, ever, ever once been compelled, no matter how much I disagree with what someone is doing or saying on social media, I've never felt compelled to leave them some type of comment demeaning them. I've only ever left comments that are like, have fun. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Like, you guys look amazing. I'm so happy for you. Like,
Absolutely.
That's all I ever say.
It's just like, what do you get out of commenting on a stranger's post or video or whatever it is? I can't relate. It's not relatable to me on doing that.
Yeah. All right, great. So it doesn't really affect you that much. And then the virtual business just really takes off.
So the virtual business takes off. I'm figuring out that this can become a sustainable thing. When COVID first started, I was creating a space for my instructors to teach, because they obviously lost, you know, if they're teaching at a YMCA or gyms, they've obviously lost that source of income. So I set it up so we have so many classes a week, like ridiculous amount. I look at those schedules and I'm like, LOL, that was crazy. That was a crazy time. They were like 40, 50 classes a week.
God.
Nuts. Like it'd be like 6 a.m. class, 7 a.m. class, 8 a.m. class. Just, I was doing too much, but I was figuring it out.
Live streams.
But yes.
People also, your members also had access to the library.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So over time, I figure out what works and what doesn't work, how many virtual instructors I really want on this platform versus like what's just fluff, and finding a consistent routine that feels good and serves members without overwhelming them.
All right. So we emerge from the pandemic.
Yes.
And then you start getting out and about again. And in this time in 2021, you actually moved to Portsmouth after spending some time in Kittery.
Yeah. Officially living in Portsmouth, I had an identity crisis of, what does it mean that I don't live in Boston anymore? Are people gonna think that I'm less important? I'm not gonna be in front of my community as much as I was before, like the Boston community. It was really a hard time personally to figure out what it meant to not be in the city, because that's all I knew. Being in Portsmouth, I luckily had Kira Lou. It was just by chance that she was here. So she was like kind of like my lifeline up here. And I was really just, again, figuring out my identity. What does it mean that I'm not in Boston?
Ever any interest in moving out? You know, you said that you'd spent some time out in LA shooting different things, and then New York City on this side of the country. Certainly a hotbed for attracting talent like yourself. Ever any interest in moving to any of those places to test yourself in those much bigger markets? I
thought about New York in like the 2017-ish days. I felt like I was going back and forth for so many different projects, which was really fun for me and easy enough to get to from Boston, just taking the train.
Or the C&J. Shout out to our friends.
Up here now, I have taken the C&J. Down to New York, I have. And I considered for a hot minute, do I move to New York? Because I was there so often. And I think that I was, one, scared, and two, I'd built such a good community in Boston. I didn't want to leave it. I wanted to keep building it. So I never made the leap. So Portsmouth really was, outside of like college or being in Cape Town, moving to Portsmouth was like a really big move for me, and moving my life and my work. There was so much change happening because of COVID. It just felt so fast and so scary.
And I'll come back to the Portsmouth of it all in a second. But while we're on the subject of New York City, you did actually have a pretty massive opportunity happen in 2023.
Yes.
You were on the Today Show, Eliza. How did that opportunity come about?
I love the Today Show. I specifically, Hoda is no longer on the Today Show, but I am a big Hoda Kotb fan. For anyone who's listening and watches, you understand. And I just thought, how cool would it be to get on the Today Show? I'm so grateful I've been able to do NBC 10 in Boston and other news segments throughout the New England area. And I just thought, like, what's the dream, like to do something next level? And it's the Today Show. I actually saw someone on the Today Show. This was a while ago. It was around Halloween, and they were doing like a pumpkin workout. And I just thought, like, I feel I could bring another take to fitness to the Today Show. Like, let me pitch myself and see who will answer. So I stalked all the producers that I could find, and I just pitched and talk about rejection. I got silence on the other end. That's a form of rejection, by the way.
Of course. Silence
on the other end from so many people until the one person was like, hey, cool. Like, send me your media kit. And I was like, I'm on it. And I remember my segment kept getting rescheduled. Like, I had gotten my train tickets or C&J, however I got there. And I kept having to reschedule because I was at the mercy of this, production, and I was going to be as flexible as possible. That was one of the few times where I was so nervous. That was not lost on me. How many people were going to be watching? I prepared in the shower. I prepared in the kitchen. I prepared on my way down. I was so scared, but so excited.
Right. I mean, for what was ultimately like a 4-minute live segment.
Short. And you have to pack in a lot of stuff in those 4 minutes. Yeah. So like, you got to be prepared. You can't really wing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you see some type of tangible uptick in what you were doing after that appearance?
You know what is so interesting about this? I was just going to say this. not really, not right away. And what I think is important for people to understand is that when you have these opportunities, they are so cool in itself. Like, it was an incredible opportunity, but you have to leverage it. So after that Today Show segment, I wore that like a badge of honor, like no shame.
Yeah.
I was posting it everywhere. I was reposting my posts. It's like, I feel like you can't be afraid to tell people what you're doing. And I think there's a way to do it where it doesn't come off cocky or conceited or like self-absorbed. I really made it about, it's a celebration for the whole Kick It community, which it was. It was so cool to put on display what we were doing as a community. And I had to get creative of like, how can I monetize this? Like, I'll run a special deal. People can enter the word today at checkout and get a free month. So when these opportunities come up, I prepare for them and I'm excited about them, but I'm also thinking from a business standpoint, how am I going to leverage them?
Smart.
Because oftentimes that alone is going to just like sit and be dormant if you don't bring it to life.
Right. Yeah. People would think, oh my God, you're on the Today Show. That must have led to
you're famous.
Like you're changed forever. But
yeah.
No.
And I actually didn't know. I thought it could do that. I had never been on national television before like that. So I wasn't sure, but I also was aware that it could be something I have to leverage versus just the moment alone.
Yeah. I mean, obviously such a nerve-wracking opportunity, but it must have been so difficult to condense everything that you know into 4 minutes.
Yes. So I had to come up with a set of moves, and the interesting thing is they were projecting the moves on the screen as I was doing them. So I couldn't do them out of order. So like say I forgot or something, or I got nervous. That you can't really do that. You have to like really stay
Showbiz,
with the script. Yeah, it was really interesting. And Dylan, who is on the Today Show, she has New England roots. She actually she told me, she was like, oh my gosh, Portsmouth, I got my wedding dress at Madeline's. And we had a little like New England Kiki moment. It was cute. It was fun. But yeah, she made me feel comfortable, but I was scared out of my mind.
Yeah. I mean, that train or bus home must have been surreal.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Just reflecting on it.
I had brought Leslie with me. Leslie helps with back end stuff with Kick It. And she's like the mama bear of Kick It. She's so maternal and loving and supportive. And she came with me on this trip. And I just remember the two of us were like giddy, like little girls, like jumping up and down. That Kick It was on the Today Show. And it's such a fun memory.
Incredible.
Thank you.
So why did you ultimately decide to move to Portsmouth of all the places you could be?
Right. Well, Ryan is from Kittery originally, and he always wanted to move back to the Seacoast. If it wasn't for COVID, I don't know that I ever would have. I think that I was so ingrained in Boston, it would have felt impossible to leave. But leaving the city and moving to Portsmouth, first of all, it's beautiful here. Like I grew up coming to Portsmouth and like going to Wentworth by the Sea and going to the beaches. I have a picture that popped up 10 years ago. I'm in downtown Portsmouth. My mom had given me this really beautiful necklace for my birthday. And it says something, it's like engraved with something so beautiful. And like the caption was like, so happy to be in Portsmouth. It was so funny seeing that pop up 10 years ago. So I loved Portsmouth. I knew of it. I just never thought I would be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you here.
Well, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Heck yeah. Now, from a previous conversation, you said that you've been toying with the idea for a while of teaching in studios around here. We have so many fitness studios around here.
Yeah, there's such great fitness.
There's a lot of really great places that you could certainly teach, but you have not done that. I'm just curious why you haven't.
So I always think about the time that I'm in now as like the aftermath of COVID. It's like the first time I'm picking my head up out of the rubble that was COVID and figuring out, what do I like about my business? What do I want to change? I'm not functioning from a place of adrenaline, anxiety, being reactive. I'm finally in a place where I have this business to stand on and can start to make decisions of things that make me happy versus just like being so scared.
Oh, that's the place to be, Eliza.
That's the place to be.
Amazing.
Yes. So there are all these different revenue streams for Kick It. It's the membership and the certification and our corporate clients. And I've recently started thinking, what do I want to do for myself? And I love teaching. Like business is important to survive, but like I just love the teaching of it all. And I don't have any plan. I don't have any answers, but I have this pull to teach up here more. And people have asked for it. Like, hey, we know you live, like, I think you, some people don't realize I live up here, but some people that do are like, I think you live in Portsmouth. Like, are you going to teach up here?
Yeah.
And Jen, who we know and love from Lainey, she's had me teach a part of that series, the fitness series for a couple of summers.
Series,
yeah. And that was kind of my first like dipping my toes. And it was so fun. It's such a wonderful community up here. And I know the people are here. I know I have something to serve that would be fun. I'm finding this challenge though of like, how can I make it for fun for me? Like have this be like the fun part of my business versus like thinking I need to do a production. Cause that's how I know how to teach now. My in-person events, like my pop-ups, they're productions.
Yeah.
It's also the first time that I'm not teaching where I live, which I really just thought about recently because again, I'm having this space to think. It's like, it's so interesting. Everywhere I have lived, once again, it could be across the world. I have taught this class and I've found community and such great friends. So yeah, I don't have the answers, but I'm getting a little antsy and curious because I think the Seacoast is such a beautiful place with amazing people and an amazing wellness culture. I'm just figuring out like, how do I want to approach it? And can I approach it of not making it a production? I don't know. Cause that's what I've known for so long.
Right. Is there any part of it that you just want the place where you live just to be the place where you live? You don't want to be recognized by your potential clients out and about. You just want to keep to yourself. That's
something I've also thought about is like, this is the first time I've lived somewhere and I'm not teaching. Like, do I like that separation? It's just new to me. And it's I've lived here since 2021. But again, I haven't had like the emotional and mental capacity to really think about this. So it is this new feeling of analyzing, do I like that separation or do I want to be teaching more and integrate myself more? I'm such a community person. So by nature, I'm like, I really want to get into this community. There's such cool people here. There's people from Boston who live up here that took my classes. Like, I know I'm not alone up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I don't have the answers, but I'm excited about this like inner feeling of like, what's next for me for a fun part that fulfills me.
Yeah. We're going to get you. We're going to see you.
Troy's going to get me there.
We're going to see you popping up at some places in the Seacoast very soon. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Speaking of pop-ups, you mentioned that you do things like this, again, usually in Boston. I know you have an ongoing deal with the Omni Hotels, which you've had a long-standing relationship with them. This summer, people can go every Saturday morning, I believe, through September and come take a Kick It class with you, right? So when you say that you have a production at a place like this, what exactly does that mean? Yeah.
So that series, I actually have one of our lead instructors, Gabby, teach it, and she's phenomenal. It's another example of the certification like doing its work and working for me because it's so fun to give someone that experience of owning that series. That has been such a great relationship. And the production of it all is so turnkey now because this is our 4th summer there. But they have a beautiful deck that overlooks the city. And there's a whole experience of like, first of all, when you walk into the Omni, it feels like fun and exciting. There's so much happening. You go up to the 3rd floor, elevate balcony, and Gabby's waiting for you, teaching a class to hotel guests, and it's open to the public, which is so special. It's a unique series where it's free for locals to also come enjoy. And after class, folks can go down to one of their cafes or restaurants and get a smoothie. It's like just like a whole thing. And the production part is easy there because being at Omni in itself is an experience. It's so fun. And it feels so turnkey now because we've done it for a few summers in a row. So that's a special gem of an experience for folks to get free fitness, check out the amenities, go grab coffee after, go get a smoothie. And that feels like a wholesome experience in my head. Over the winter time, I do pop-ups at Lululemon in the Back Bay in Boston. That is more work for me because I'm the one who's sourcing the goodies after class. So sometimes we'll have like Culture Pop, or I've worked with Bare Minerals or local food and drink businesses in the area, bring them in, because I want it to feel like an experience for people, not just a class. So that's kind of what I mean when I say production. I do miss the simplicity of the days of like going somewhere and teaching. And that's it. Like I walk in the door, I greet people, give a good experience and see you later. I'm just so hardwired now for like the event perspective of it all, and bringing in special things to make guests or participants feel like it's an elevated moment.
So you host these pop-ups.
Yeah.
You do corporate wellness things as well, where, you and your team will go into a business and bring the staff some type of fitness program, your Kick It program. You have annual memberships that people can learn more about on your website. Yeah. And I believe it's $359 for the entire year. Are we kidding? What a
Are we kidding, folks? Yeah.
For the live classes, for the full archives, you're teaching, your staff is teaching.
You can also do monthly.
You can do monthly as well. You have and 7-day free trials are available as well. You have your certifications.
Yeah.
There's like licensing that people pay you to teach the Kick It class. This is a robust business you've built for yourself. This is incredible.
Thank you. There's a lot happening. And again, it's been a lot of trial and error. Like some things, I don't even know what I can think of off the cuff, but some things didn't work. You know, it's like really honing in on what is working. And I think people will ask, what's like your 5-year plan or your 10-year plan? What's next? And I think about what I'm doing now, and I just want to get really good at what we're doing right now. I actually don't want to do anything more. That's a part of the struggle with like teaching, on the Seacoast. I'm like, I just want to get really good at what we're doing now because there's so much room for growth. But I'm also trying to not corner myself into like what we're doing now, and that's it. So it's a little bit of a battle.
Could I ask you for a piece of wisdom, perhaps?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So I feel like I am in the just after New Balance ends the deal with you, I've got to figure this shit out quick era, if you will. What would you say to me or someone like me who's just like going through it, has to figure it out every day, feels stressful? Like you can see it, it's just not there yet. What would you say to people like us to get through that time?
Knowing what I know now, and I have to practice this like to this day, is setting really small goals to get to the bigger goal. Because I think back then I could also see it. I was like, I see where I want to go. I see where I want to be. But I would set this really, really big goal for myself. And that would feel so scary and almost unattainable because it was so big that I wish I gave myself smaller benchmarks, like smaller wins, even on like a weekly basis, whether it was, just a win is pitching myself to like 10 places this week, or even, today I try to make the goals smaller for myself, like try to get X amount of new members, into the membership versus thinking like, how am I going to get 1 million people a part of the virtual membership? So I try to take small steps to get where I want to go, because those wins also feel really good. And then you want to keep going. It's that like positive feedback loop. So it's hard, especially when you're starting out, because you need ground to stand on, especially if you're supporting yourself with your work. It's hard to be like, I can't really, I can't start small. I gotta feed myself. I gotta put a roof over my head. But I find that if you can give yourself small wins, it gives you such confidence to keep going, and it's more realistic.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I do just want to ask, because you're such a beacon of knowledge, just some health and wellnessy questions. Now, as we said earlier, just everything is making a comeback. I think like and one of those like fibers making comeback. Thank God I'm a big fiber guy. Like the low rise jeans are making like all the fashion trends are coming back, which some of those I don't quite understand. But one trend that I'm hearing is coming back as well is like being really, really skinny.
I know.
What's up with that one?
I see that coming back too. And it's such a bummer because I feel like we had come so far from that era. History repeats itself, things come back again and again.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like I've had this conversation with so many different women on the podcast where a lot of them have opened up about struggles with disordered eating. And every single one of them says, I grew up in the era of the 1990s when this model was on this magazine and you looking hot is weighing 90 pounds. And so that's the common answer. But for this next generation, for the Gen Z kids who are now thinking that, like, what's there? Like, why do they think that?
I know. It really troubles me. And in the fitness space, it can be so loud because typically on social media or where you're consuming your fitness content, it's like these transformation photos. And it can be somebody that looks really healthy and then is like, watch me transform to weigh 80 pounds. Maybe it's not saying that, but like, that's what it looks like. And you're like, that's the transformation. Like, I want to see someone transform looking like stronger, you know, like it's really wild to me. I think that being in the fitness space, no matter what kind of community you have or followers, whatever, I think we have this duty to teach the younger generation what health really looks like. And with my work, it's always been the antithesis of like work out to get smaller or burn a ton of calories. The messaging with Kick It has always been work out to take up space, to build muscle. You want to lose weight? Good for you. You're probably going to, but my goal with you is to help you create a healthy habit. And like, that's a byproduct of what we're doing. And I think I'd be a lot wealthier if I posted transformation photos. I think that I'd make a lot more money showing how skinny people can get through our programming, but that's not a part of my work. Like that's not the goal of my work. And it's very frustrating for me because I see so many people in this space, sometimes people with big followings that have no credibility, post what we're talking about. And the comments just like go off of like, how do I get your workout routine? Or how do I get your abs? And it's so disheartening for me to see people flock to these quote unquote experts because it's dangerous. It's not healthy, and it can really harm people who aren't in the right headspace or know where to go. Like it's really scary. And there are some people who are professionals in the industry and they do post these things. And that blows my mind even more because I'm like, what, you know, sometimes these celebrity trainers post their celebrities and it's like, comment the word abs to get abs just like them. And I'm like, you know that it's lighting, diet. They have a whole team behind them. They have money. They have the resources.
Editing. Who knows what AI is doing these days?
All of it. And I'm sure that these professionals play a part in their wellness routine. I'm not doubting that, but it drives me insane because once again, the comments just blow up to get their free program or do their membership or whatever they're selling because they're selling something. They're not showing you that from like the goodness of their heart. They're trying to sell you the program. So it frustrates me. It's always been like a pain point in this industry and so frustrating. But all I can do is keep showing up with the work that I'm providing and hoping that the right people find me and we can maybe educate and change the minds of people who are stuck in this cycle of wanting to lose as much weight as possible or look like this celebrity or whatever it is.
Right. So who are the right people that find you? If you're not selling transformations and abs and what are you selling?
I think that I'm selling approachable movement that people have found consistency with. And I think that's gold, is to find consistency with your health and wellness routine because it's a lifelong thing. Like this isn't going anywhere. You got to take care of yourself forever. And so I'm really attracting the people who want to feel good and not shamed or judged throughout the process or like have a drill sergeant yelling at them. They know they can take our classes and all of our instructors are going to be welcoming. We're going to push you. We're going to work hard. You're going to sweat. You're going to build muscle, all these things, but we're going to do it in a way that makes you want to come back and have that sustainability.
So for these people who are saying that 90 pounds is what it means to be healthy, what do you say is good health in your words?
I think good health is having a sense of peace within your body, because if you're able to operate from a peaceful place, then you're being kind to yourself and you're probably choosing workouts and fitness communities that are promoting the sustainability and longevity of life, not 90 pounds. I feel like people have lost their peace with wellness. And if I can provide a sense of peace and sustainability, that's everything. And I wish that for people. I really do.
Well, they should go follow you on social media or take a 7-day free trial with Kick It By Eliza to start getting that piece back, because you're damn right. We all need it.
Yeah. I would love to support anyone who needs that.
Yeah. Well, Eliza, thank you so much for joining me today, for letting me into this award-winning studio that we have here.
Yes.
I'm starstruck by both you and the studio. And I thank you so much for everything that you've done for the Seacoast community, for the greater Boston community, and for a whole bunch of people around the world.
Thanks for having me.
Again, that's Eliza Shirazi of Kick It By Eliza. To stay up to date with Eliza and all her latest offerings, you can visit her website, the link to which is in today's show notes. Thanks again to Degree Wellness Seacoast for supporting today's episode. They're also supporting Wednesday night's dinner club in Amesbury, where we are expecting 80 plus people for yet another intimate evening of connection, conversation, and community. An additional thanks to Budget Blinds of the Seacoast for supporting today's podcast, and also to all of you for listening. We appreciate it more than you could ever know. I'll be back next week with another podcast, but until then, if you see me around town this week, please stop me and say hi. I would love to hear your story.